Hey, Roman here, talking about Ninth Age Battle Report. I played last week. This was Game 5 of the New Year's Revolution, which was a team tournament put on by the USA players, mostly Alex Schmid and Jeremy Schweitzer. It was a well run tournament. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. Right now, I'm just going to go through how my last battle went. So let's just jump in. I was playing against Ben Killer, who had Warriors of the Dark Gods, fellow USA player. And I, of course, have been playing Empire of Sunstal in this new year of 2021. This is my list, Empire Sunstal. Not going to talk about it. You can go look at my other videos, and I'll just talk about it randomly throughout the video. This is Ben's list, Warriors of the Dark Gods. It was a little bit different. I definitely hadn't played against a list like this from Warriors before. Pretty much all the Warriors lists I've ever played before have used Feldrakes, either units of Feldrakes or Feldrake Elders, Feldrake Ancestors, um, along with larger units of like one block of warriors. So his approach was a little different. He's got a big old chosen lord on a wasteland dragon, though it's not kitted out the same way as the typical dragon build, but that's okay. He had a sorcerer with alchemy, which is also different. I don't usually see that. I usually see what do I usually see? Can warriors take evocation? Thaumaturgy, I think those are the ones I usually see more than alchemy. Um, 2 units of 15 warriors with sloth. Sloth means they're actually resilience 5. So I do want to say, because this was a team tournament, what you do when you find out what team you're going up against, your captain will generally have you go through and rank the opponent's list. And I initially ranked this as a green. But then when I was going back through this after we did get paired up, I was second guessing myself, and I was feeling, maybe Green was optimistic. Resilience 5 Warriors are going to be a bit of a challenge. His Warrior Knights have something with at least like a 2 armor save, and with my cannons not really hitting most of this tournament, I was a little worried about that dragon, because if my cannons don't hit, that dragon was going to be issues. So, yeah, that's why I was second guessing myself. I think it really was a yellow, depending just on how we played. And then he has 2 units of warrior knights. He gave them greed, so they have weapon master, which means they can choose which weapon they use: halberd, great weapon, lance. So they're great for charge. They're great on the grind. Whatever they need to be, it's flexible. He got 2 units of these chaff, these flares, which were fantastic for him. And then Chimera, which I knew would also probably be used somewhat like chaff. So there you go. Those are the lists. Scenario for round 5 was Spoils of War, and we ended up on map 3. All right, so this was the map uh, with the deployment. So you could see what it looks like before we put our armies down. Of course, I have a master on Pyro, and I know I took the 5 spell. I was really struggling with what to take with my master and pyro, because there isn't a whole lot of things for me to damage. So I think I took fireball just to go after his flares, because I need something to hit his chaff. I took flaming swords, number 3. I know I took the number 5 spell. Oh yeah, so that's what I took. I took 1, 3, and 5, because 5 is now a hex. It's a debuff. And then I took Altered Sight from Cosmo. And then on my Divination Adept on the Arcane Engine, I took Quicksilver Lash because I needed something to hurt his heavily armored knights. And I took Stars Align. So those were my spells I had. On Alchemy, you can see he has the 2, 3, 4. I think he had either the 5 or the 6 spell from Alchemy. Um, and then he's got some other spells that are on his Dark Prelate. And he, of course, does have the Hereditary Hellfire, which is one of my least favorite spells in the game, at least when my opponent has it. So, going into this matchup, I was very fearful of Hellfire, especially because if you read the rules, if the caster can cast Hellfire into combat if it's in a unit that's in combat. So That I was fearful of because I figured he would just push his Resilience 5 Warrior Knights into my Flagellants and then just cast Hellfire, and that would just blow up my Flagellant unit. He could run right over me. That's what I would have done. I don't know. I'm not a Warriors player. I never played him. No plan on. But there we have it. I ended up. Well, he ended up winning the rule for sides. So he took the top, of course, because he wanted it impassable to hide his dragon and Chimera behind. And so I ended up on the bottom. And I dropped all to go for first. Knowing that he was going to put his dragon up behind that impassable, and knowing that he had some pretty heavily armored guys, I figured I would go in the opposite corner. So that would force his dragon to, if he did come out from behind the impassable, I would have probably about 2 turns of shooting at him before he could actually get into me. I figured if I deployed around the hill, he could literally fly his dragon out from behind. I'd have 1 turn to hit him, and then he could charge into me. So, deploying the opposite corner. If he comes out, he can fly to here. Then he can't quite charge into me. He needs to fly again, and there we have it. So that was my strategy. My knights have Stalker's standard, so they can go through the ruins. I figured they could zone this objective here for spoils of war. My other flagellants, I figured, could zone um, both of these. And then this one, if my opponent, if he deployed in a way to go for this far one or this one, these flagellants in a position that they could actually push on the far one if they need to. They can also contest this middle one. So that's why I deployed the way I did. And then I have my scoring here, so that obviously I have 3 scoring units that can go for this marker. That's the one I'm obviously going to go for. And then my knights are in position to try to go for this middle one if my flagellants are able to force him back. So that was basically my strategy. Cannons are placed in such a way that um, they can't hit him if he's behind, but he literally has to stay right behind, or I will be able to hit him with the cannons. So I thought about putting 1 cannon up here right by the edge of my deployment zone because then I could really shrink the spot that he could hide behind the impassable. But from previous games, I've learned that it's really bad to place my cannons that far forward with an easy reach of a charge from my opponent. So I just kept him in the back. Decided, don't be greedy. Put him in the back and put some pressure on him that way. So that was my deployment. He dropped his guys this way. So obviously these are his 4 scoring units. They're in position to contest these 2 objectives. It, and thinking about how the game went, I think it would have been better had he placed probably a knight unit over on this flank. Seeing the way that I deployed, he easily could have had a knight unit pick up this objective and then just kind of threatened the flank of my flagellants. Because if those knights get on the flank of my flagellants, I'm in trouble. They're probably gonna outgrind me. So, but anyway, he didn't do that. He just deployed here, face to face against my army. Then he stuck his 2 monsters back behind this impassable. My cannon, actually, this cannon can hit his Chimera from turn 1. I'm not sure why he took that risk. I think he could have put it back here, but it's what it is. He's got his flares here for chapping me. And then I have my scouts. And I debated putting a scout unit over by my other forces to be able to shoot and drive off his flares. But I decided, no, I have pyro magic and other things that can deal with the flares. I need my rangers to deal with his Chimera and his dragon because they're exposed. So I put them all over here. And that was that. So then he gets to vanguard his flare, so he just comes forward. Oh, I guess I should go through the list. So it's pretty obvious. These 2 blocks up here with 15 are his Sloth Warriors. Resilience 5, he's got his 2 units of Knights. I guess I already kind of went through his deployment. My deployment, of course, I have Flagellants. The 2 Spearman units. The Arcane Engine is his pink and yellow thing, which is also how I paint my guys. And then this big block is where I put the general, which has household standards, so that I have discipline within 18 inches, commanding presence from the general here in the white cloak. And my pyro mage is sitting in this corner. All right, that's that. So what do? I actually push forward, and my thought on this was, yeah, how much did I push forward? Okay. So I pushed forward with my spears on this side just to kind of guard, just to make sure the flares didn't slide in behind and get to the cannon. So my spears are just oriented like this. They're within range of pressuring this objective, but they also can prevent the flares from coming in behind. These flagellants I pushed forward in a way that I could threaten these objective markers, so that if he comes forward to grab the objective, I'll be able to countercharge and prevent him, right? That's basically all that I did here on this side. And then these rangers, I actually didn't move them because the way they were set up, I could deploy within 18 inches of an enemy. I think I deployed about 20 inches away so that he couldn't really charge me, or at least it would be a long charge for him, either 20 or 21 inches away. That way I don't have to move, and that way I'm hitting him on fives. If I move, then he can charge me, and he's gonna hit me, and I only hit him on sixes. Well, I guess if I go to short range. Well, whatever. I don't want him to charge me, so I don't move my rangers. Anyway, so then we have magic, and I get altered sight off, and that was it. I had some bad initial rolls, and I'm trying to remember what else I even tried to cast. I'm sure I tried to cast Quicksilver Lash on these flares, but that got dispelled. So then we have shooting, and I have on the side, you can see the rolls. So I think I shot these 10 guys here. These 10 guys on the side of this hill, they're too far away from the dragon. So they actually shot at the Chimera. You can see those rolls. And, let's see, I must have had 10 hits. Yeah, so there. I had 10 hit, but then I didn't roll any sixes. I needed 6 to wound. So these 10 that shot at this Chimera, 10 hit, which is really good out of 20 shots. 20 shots, hitting on fives, 10 hit, and then I had no wounds. So it was like a really good roll and then a bad roll. Then these 2 units shot at the dragon. So I rolled 40 shots because they have shots too. I actually ended up with 5 up. I had 9. So then I had 9 out of 40 hit the dragon, and then out of those 9, I actually rolled 3 sixes. Pop. So from turn 1, I had 3 wounds on his dragon, which I believe has either 6 or 7 wounds. So that I was surprised. I expected to put a wound or 2 on him, but I didn't expect to put 3. That was a little good. But there we have it. That's my first turn. So what does he do on his turn? His turn, he moves his Chimera forward because he figures, okay, with that kind of shooting from these 30 Rangers, he figures he might be dead in the next turn anyway. So he brings his Chimera forward to put pressure on me. And thinking about it after the game, what he should have done was bring his dragon forward too, right? Because if he brings his dragon and his Chimera forward at the same time, I now have to choose which I'm going to shoot at. Plus, his dragon has a breath weapon. He could fly forward, use his breath weapon to decrease some of my rangers. Although that is why my flagellants are positioned this way, so that if he did fly forward, they would be in position to countercharge. So anyway, um, I don't know. I don't know why you would rush with just one monster and not both. I think he was afraid my cannons would just hit him, but I mean, you either keep it out of cannon sight. I mean, the Rangers are gonna. I don't know. It's a bad situation for him on this side of the board from the way he deployed. If he had deployed a Warrior Knight unit on this side, he could have threatened my Rangers with the Warrior Knights. Literally, my Rangers are not going to do a thing. And then once the Warrior Knights get into combat or actually clean up some of the Ranger units, he can bring the monsters forward. But anyway, um, on this side, he chats with his flares. He does his little skinning lash thing, so he whips the flagellants, kills a couple of them with those, and then he sets up his knights here. So what do I do on? Oh, let's see, and then he gets magic. Um, right. Oh. Yeah, he got a big spell. He got a alchemy spell off, and um, on the warrior knights, and I let it through. And I shouldn't have, but he rolled really well, and it killed 6 knights. So yeah, alchemy good against knights. I forget what I was trying to stop. I think I was trying to stop Hellfire because at this point in the game, I'm really afraid of Hellfire because if he starts to really blast, well, I was afraid of two things from the beginning of the game, although he didn't really try this, and I'm not sure why the whole game, but I was afraid he was going to take his oh, I should have grabbed the book. What is now the number four spell from alchemy, which acts like kind of like a bolt thrower. I was afraid he was going to try to do that on my arcane engine. He actually wanted to use that on my cannon, but because of the way my knights were positioned, they were blocking line of sight to the cannon actually from his mage, which was, I didn't intend, but that's just what happened. So anyway, I thought he was going to use that on my arcane engine, so I was going to try to dispel that, and I was also afraid of his hellfire. So that's why I let the alchemy spell through again. It seems like game after game, I just let through spells that actually kill my knights. So there we have it. That was my decision process, and all right. So then on my turn, um. I charge these flares with my flagellants. Think, I don't remember if I failed their frenzy check, but I figured if I don't charge them, they're just there. The way he positioned his knights, he should have positioned them a little differently. But I looked at the angles and thought to myself, okay, if I charge the flares, there's actually a chance that if I roll, I need like an 8, maybe higher than an 8, but if I roll well enough, if I kill him, then I can overrun and hit his knights, and that prevents his knights from charging. So I thought that was a decent move of mine. I actually pull these spears back because I measure it, and I figure out that his knights are actually not that far away from charging my spears. So I pull my knight spears back a little bit, and then I turn because the dragon isn't threatening me at all. There's nothing to lose. I turn all 30 rangers. Well, these ones I keep in the same position. I turn the other 20 to face the Chimera. I figure 60 shots at the Chimera, good chance that I'm going to hit him and kill him. So then we go into magic, and I got Quicksilver Lash off on these flares that were not in combat, but then I failed. Like I only rolled like one wound, and then he saved it. So, or I guess maybe I failed to wound. It was something like that. Oh, and then you can see. I think I could try to cast a fireball. Anyway, magic phase didn't really do much for me. You can see all of my shots. I had 10 shots. My first 10 shots from this unit all hit, because I hit on 4s at that range. I didn't move. And then I had 2 wounds from this unit. Then my other, uh, then why did I roll these separately? Oh, these guys were out of range. So then I had to roll separately. But anyway, I just, popped enough wounds that that Chimera just died. So my rangers are still sitting pretty over here. And that's oh, and then my cannon misfires. I think this cannon was firing at his knights. Figured I could kill 2 knights. It misfired, and I rolled a 2, so it was jammed for the rest of the game. So there we have that. This cannon's out for the game, and the other cannon misfired, and I rolled a 5, so it took a wound. So both cannons misfired in turn 2. Way to go, cannons. Yeah. Okay, so here my flagellant broke the flares, and then I rolled to pursue, and you can see I only rolled a 4. So I didn't catch him, and I didn't run into the knights. So that's not great for me, because I'm realizing I probably shouldn't have even charged the flares at all. I should have just done like a reform to try to block the knights or something. I don't know. So what does he do? He charges his knights into my spears. He hides his dragon again because he's afraid of my shooting. And let's see. That's it. He doesn't really move his oh, I guess he pushes his warriors a little forward to threaten this objective, but not really. I think he's wary of my flagellants. So at this point in the game, He actually didn't know they had Unbreakable, because he said he'd never faced them before. He didn't really know what they did. So I told him the rules, but anyway. So then he does magic. I let him get Word of Iron off on this warrior unit. Um, and I basically dispel everything else. Or no, he must have gotten Hellfire off, and he killed 4 or 5 flagellants here. So yeah. Then in combat, he kills a bunch of my spears, but I actually end up killing 2 of his, which helps. And then I have steadfast still because I still have 2 ranks. Yeah, I have 1 more rank than him, so I have steadfast. I've minimized discipline because I thought ahead enough to put the order on them. So I've minimized discipline 10, and I stay. So on my turn, I then charge these spears into their flank. I figure spears on the flank of knights is pretty good. I might be able to win and force them off the table. And I charge these flagellants into his warrior knights because otherwise he's just gonna keep chaffing me, and I don't want that. Now that I do that though, both those charges, I realize, oh, I kind of have a big gap in here, so don't really like that. What do I do? So then I push these 2 ranger units forward so that they can, at least some of them can shoot at the dragon. These rangers, I realize they're not going to be able to hit because he's hidden too well behind the impassable. So I just move him up so I can try to maybe shoot the flares or something. I then realize at this point these knights are going to, now that I have this side on lockdown from the rangers, I'm going to send my knights to go pick up this objective. So that's what these knights are trying to do. While my other knights... Oh, I guess I just back up. Didn't really do anything with these flagellants. Yeah. There we have it. Casting. I tried to get Fleming's swords off. Oh no, I didn't. What did I cast? I can never remember what I cast. I'm really sorry. Um, that doesn't... Okay, so... Magic phase, it looks like I don't really get anything off. That's too useful. Oh. Okay. Shooting phase, my cannon actually hit his knights. I must have done like... Oh, I did Quicksilver Lash on his knights, and then I shot a cannon at his knights. So I was able to start whittling down these knights. So that was useful. I didn't really think that I needed buffs on this combat, so I didn't buff it. I should have, and I didn't. Instead, I was just trying to damage his guys with Quicksilver Lash and with Fireball at the flares. Shooting wise, I don't remember how many rangers. You can see my roll here. I'm able to roll and get, yeah, I didn't have, not all of them could see, but enough of them could see. Like, these guys must have only hit on 6s, 6 guys on 6s, and then 7 guys on, or 3 guys on 6s, and 7 guys on, I don't know what the difference was. Anyway, you can see I got some more wounds. Got 2 more wounds on the dragon, so he's almost dead. Just from rangers. And then combat. I didn't kill a single knight in this round. And he put all of his attacks onto these spears, which broke and fled. But he couldn't pursue, so he just turns and to face mine. And now I'm kicking myself because I realize, oh, and now I'm in a real bad situation. If these guys break, he can overrun, kill my mage, and overrun into my parry unit, in which he could direct attacks and kill my my mage and or my general. So I'm actually pretty worried. My flagellants are grinding against his warriors, but it's basically going to be mutual destruction. And if one of us gets off a combat buff, it could go either way. But so that's not sitting too great. So what does he do on his turn? He realizes, okay, he's down. He only has like 1 or 2 wounds left on his dragon, so he just brings it out and does a breath attack on these rangers. Yeah. Then he brings these flares forward so that he's chaffing these flagellants, and he does his whips against them to start whittling them down some more. Um, and then in magic phase, he got a word of iron off on these warriors. I think I was just again more afraid of him doing spells on my flagellants that were not in combat. Um, you can see he does a breath attack, and he killed 6 rangers with the breath attack. But then I rolled a 6, so they stayed. It was a decent move because theoretically, if I roll higher, then they flee, and then I would have maybe fled through my own guys, and he could have caused everything to panic just with the breath attack, the way I positioned everything. So, that was a lucky 6 that I stayed. But of course, now his dragon is exposed to 1 cannon and all of my rangers. So yeah, he could have panicked, but they didn't. All right. You can see in combat, let's see, like on this warrior, so I killed 3 of him, and he kills 1, 2. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the back, and then I have 2. So he kills 4 flagellants, and I kill 3 warriors. So we're just slowly grinding each other down. Here, I kill 1 knight, and he kills 3 spearmen, which was lucky for me. He could have killed a lot more than that. And now, the way I positioned, though, I'm within 8 inches of my parent unit. So, as long as I have 1 full rank, I get to count the full number of ranks for Steadfast as this parent unit is. And I have Distracting from the Arcane Engine. So, this combat, I hold, but I know I'm going to have to do something soon. So, what do I do in my turn? I charge these flagellants into the flank of them. Well, first of all, this flagellant unit way out here, it fails its frenzy check, of course, because they're more than 18 inches from the general. So they fail the frenzy check. It was actually funny. They rolled a 6, or they rolled a. Yeah, you can see here. So this roll 115. That was their frenzy roll because it's maximized. So normally it would be a 6, and normally they would pass. But because his flayers had whipped them the previous turn, they suffer -1 discipline. So their discipline is actually only a 5. So they failed. But how's that for a frenzy roll? This other unit rolled a 9, which passes because of the general's leadership, but I decided to charge them anyway. So I figured these flagellants have to charge anyway. They're going to go into the front of the flayers. So I declare that one first, and they hold. And then I declare the second one into their flank. Because the way I'm looking at things, I figure if I can just kill them outright and overrun, I'm hoping for this unit here to overrun into his warriors, and this unit to overrun into his knights. So that was my plan there. Then, of course, I turn these rangers to shoot at the dragon, and I move the knights so that they're in, so that on the following, they're a little bit closer to the objective. So in the following turn, I can move them up to grab the objective. I move this arcane engine out of the way so that if the knights overrun, he won't overrun into my mage. But then I am providing support still with distracting, and I can support these combats a little bit better. Then I had Magic Phase, and Magic Phase I was able to uh let's see here. What did I try to cast? So I cast a Oh yeah, I tried to get Flaming Swords off, and he dispelled that, but he used a lot of his dice. So then I was able to get off um, Perception of Strength, and earlier I actually cast the number 5 spell, which takes your opponent's armor and then it debuffs his agility and his defense skill. So his knights have like armor 5. So he basically has offense 0 and agility 0. So now my spears are going to hit him on 3s and they're going to go before him. And then I was able to. I saved 3 dice so I could cast Perception of Strength on my spears. Um, on a power level of 8, and then he had 2 dice left, and he rolled a 5. So I was able to get off a buff and a debuff on this combat, which was huge. Shooting, my rangers take care of that dragon, so his general is now gone, and let's see, my cannon. It looks like it missed. I'm not really sure. Cannon wasn't really doing much. All right. So then in combat, I of course here kill the flares. I overrun with both. This one rolls just enough. I think I needed. What did I need? I think I needed like an 8, and I rolled an 8. So they were able to hit the knights from their overrun. I overran with the other one, but I realized I probably should have not overrun because they would have then been in position to countercharge his warriors. But with the overrun, I now can't wheel past my own unit. So I'm actually chaffing myself here. And if he wants to, his warriors could technically go pick up the objective. And there's not a whole lot that I could do about it. Um, Here you can see, let's see, what do we have at the beginning of the turn? Oh, yeah, we're getting down to like 4 warriors versus 3 flagellants. This is slugfest over here. Um, with perception of strength, my spears actually kill. Look, he's got 6. I killed 4 knights, and he only killed, looks like 2 spearmen. Because I got to attack before he did, so he only had these 2 guys attacking. And but he stayed. He rolled his discipline check because I won combat, but he stayed. So we're still in combat, but these buffs are still going to go on. So now, because I have those buffs on and I won that combat, I'm feeling pretty good that I'm going to hold. I'm still wary about this knight unit, though. I have a feeling he's going to outgrind my flagellants. And he got Hellfire off on these guys on his turn. Oh, he also got... I couldn't stop it. I think I rolled too low, and I should have just rolled more dice. But he was able to kill 3 knights again with that. Oh, he used the spell that was like a bolt thrower, so he hit the flank, so he was able to kill 3 knights with that. But I was able to roll under my discipline and stay. I rolled 8, which is what I needed. Yeah. So here he's down to just his 1 warrior. But his champion survived, so his champion could still pick up that objective marker there. But my spears were able to defeat his warrior knights, and so I just turned to face the objective. I'm feeling pretty good because I think I'm feeling that 15 spears should be able to handle a champion, so we'll see. And then I'm trying to outgrind his knights, but he stays. He's got 1 left and he stays, so it's a grind fest there. So then on my turn, all I do is I shuffle these flagellants over, such that if he wants to pick up the objective, he's now gonna have to fight me. So that's good. I move these spears up on the objective so that I'm winning it, and I move this knight onto this objective. So now he's gotta stop me from. I have 2 objective, and he has to fight me to even pick up 1. So I'm feeling pretty good about the game now. Some of the dice has turned. And let's see. Magic. I actually cast Flaming Swords on my flagellants so that they're strength 5 with +1 to wound, so that if he does charge me, I'm going to be buffed. Let's see. And then shooting, my cannon. This cannon actually hits his lone champion. He took a full cannonball in the face. That the warrior champion. And so he's dead. So I'm now feeling that I've picked up this objective pretty well. Nothing to threaten me. And that's about it. So what does he do on his turn? He turns. His main objective is he wants to kill my knight. So he turns that unit. And once again, he's able to get that alchemy spell off. He kills my knight. He also was able to get, I think, Hellfire off again kill more flagellants. I don't remember what I'm dispelling or if I'm just not rolling enough dice. But there we have it. So I then charge my flagellants into his warrior unit because at this stage of the game, we're getting near the end, and I just feel I'm confident I'm gonna win pretty big. And I just decide I came to play. I'm gonna fight. Like it would be more strategic to just sit there, but I decided I'm gonna fight him. I'll just charge in. I don't care. So I do that. Uh, his warrior champion only has he's got one. He's down to one wound. Um, then I'm able to get off. Looks like Stars Align and Flaming Swords to really try to buff this combat. But let's see. He actually, even though I'm buffed, he actually just wipes him out. I figured I'd be able to last because on this side, it was just kind of a grind fest, but he's able to just really grind me down because I had less models to start. I really need more models than this. I entered this combat with only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only have 13 flagellants. That's a lot different than when I fought his other warriors over here, and I should have recognized that, but I didn't, right? There's a big difference between having 24 flagellants and 13 flagellants at the beginning of a fight. So anyway, he kills them. I kill his warrior knight, and I turn to face him, because I'm thinking I'm going to be able to hit him in the flank if he doesn't kill all my flagellants. No, he kills him. Then on his turn, he charges into my flagellants. Um, and he kills them down to 3. Flagellants are left, and then that was the game. So I kept the objective, so I won the objective. And he killed 2 full units of flagellants and almost all of the third. He killed my knights. And he killed a spear unit. A spear unit ran off the board. So there we have it. It actually ended up 17-3. I did the math a little wrong, and I had to message him after the game. So it ended up 17-3 because he did kill a lot of flagellants, which is the thing with them. They do give up their points, but they make the opponent pay for it. So they're 450 points a unit, and typically, if you're gonna get those 450 points, you're basically gonna have to give up 450 points of your own, and that's why I like them. So there we have it. That was the game against Ben for round 5. Uh, it was a fun game. Ben is a little bit of he's actually I think more of a newer player even than I am. I've been playing Ninth Age for about 2 years, and I think he's only been playing for about a year. Um, so anyway, he was talking to me after the game. He says he's gonna pick up. He was gonna pick up Empire even before he played me, but so I was helping him with some list ideas. So look for him on Empire. See what else he plays. Any other thoughts on this particular battle? Again, I felt like the cannons were not worth it. I mean, realistically, it was the Rangers that killed the Chimera and the Dragon. And the cannons just zoned, but they really didn't do much. So there we have it. Cannons. I know it wasn't this game, but it was one of my games in this tournament. My opponent said I should basically kill the cannon crew, and I said I was gonna take the cannon crew and use their heads for ammo. So yeah, I felt I was kicking myself at the beginning for pushing my flagellants forward. On turn 1, I felt I should have just kept them back because by pushing him forward, that allowed his knights to get outside of my arc because he chaffed me with the flares. I guess he would have chaffed me anyway, even if I'd held back. But if I'd stayed back, his flares, I guess they still probably could have chaffed me. So I don't know. But I felt I had left an opening, and I was lucky that I had held with that spare unit early on his turn, like turn. I think it was his turn too. Because if I had broke and he had a very real possibility of breaking me, he could have overrun the cannon, taken the cannon out, and then he would have had a knight unit in my rear, which I did have that other spear unit, but it was going to be very difficult to keep that knight unit under control. So that was a big game changer. And then that number 5 pyro spell actually really turned the game around for me, and being able to eliminate those knights. Rangers were just doing really well, lots of work. Flagellants, I shouldn't have charged there at the very end, but it is what it is. Okay, enough about this match. So this brings us actually to the end of the New Year's Revolution. With this, I was playing for Reign of Anarchy, and we ended up 33 out of 42 teams. So here we are. These are our players with Chris, who I've played with before. Adeyev, who is Ursa, Francisco is Chak, and Xavier is he was on Beast Herds. He's full stack, and he is our captain. Going forward, we are going to be playing in the next team tournament, which is actually teams of 8 players. So we've already recruited 2 additional players. I'm not we might still have a spot open, but I'm not sure for how long. But we are all staying together, even though I had known Chris before. I didn't know any of their players. But anyway, so we had Chris on Warriors, I was on Empire, Ursa was on Demons, then we had Sylvan Elves and Beast Herds. So, yeah, there we have it. But this actually, for me, with this game, that actually put me at a total score of 61 and placed me 57 out of 210. I don't want to read a ton into this because in a team tournament, it's something where the captain was able to get me pretty good matchups. Um, but I am feeling pretty good about it because if you've seen anything from the way I played last year with Sylvan Elves, I literally was placing dead last or next to dead last in just about every single tournament I played. And that includes team tournament. I checked the team tournament I played last year, and I was 135th out of 136. So I haven't figured out yet if it's just that I'm a lot better with Empire, if maybe my playing style is better with Empire than with Sylvan Elves, or if now that I've played enough games over the course of 2 years that my knowledge is coming to a point, and it just so happens that um, I've learned enough about the game that I've grown as a better player, just at the same time as I switched to Empire. So I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, I'm having fun with Empire regardless of my scores, and I'm gonna keep playing it for a while. Um, so there we have it. We'll see how I do in the next team tournament. I'm also right now playing in Clashing Roundabouts UB tournament organized by Cassis. I have a different Empire list. Some elements are the same, but it is a little bit different from this. So look for that because I do have my first game. I'm playing on Saturday this week. February. What's Saturday this week? It's coming up in a couple days, so you'll get to see that list soon. I haven't decided what I'm gonna play in the 8-man tournament. I don't think I'm going to play with this exact list because it does have some weaknesses. But it was a lot of fun to play, and I think it was good for a team tournament. The cannons made it so that there were a lot of matchups. We knew there were a lot of matchups the opponents did not want facing me because my 2 cannons were going to do just what in this battle. You know, cannons and rangers were going to really zone and take out enemy monsters. Um, and so that helped a lot with matchups. And then also a lot of people, when they were facing me, they're like, I can maybe deal with 1 unit of flagellants, but not 3. So that also put a lot of pressure on people. So that was fun to play with. But if you build your list that way with 90 flagellants and 2 cannons and 30 rangers, there's not a whole lot else you can do. You can do a little bit with core, but kind of there isn't a whole lot you can do with characters. Um, because that already takes up a lot of your list. So there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I look forward to sharing the rest of my games and learning experiences with you. Take care.